A big week for the stock market this week. We have the CPI data being released, which is scheduled for July 12th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time or 5:30 a.m. Pacific time if you are on the West Coast. So what does that mean and what is expected? I guess let's talk about that and see where we expect the market to head if expectations come in on par. So at the moment, we are sitting at an expectation of the CPI actually coming in lower than what was previous, right? So like looking at the economic data, we'll look at core CPI. We had 5.3% on the last CPI reading for the month of May. We are expected to see 5% for the month of July or for the month of June. And so that's basically what we're expecting to see with the CPI data coming in. Is that going to happen? We're going to have to wait and see on Wednesday what those actual numbers come in at. So that's what the first thing I want you guys to note. The second thing I want you guys to note is that on July 26th, we actually have the next FOMC meeting, which is the next meeting where the federal rate is going to be decided for the interest rate. So currently the expectations are to see a 5.25 to 5.5% federal interest rate. And currently we are sitting at 5% to 5.25%. We have a 93% probability that we're going to see an interest rate hike on the 26th. So just keep that in mind. And I guess make sure to factor that into the market when you're trading and expect that to start being factored into the market as the weeks go on and we approach the 26th. So those are the two big things I want you guys to pay attention to, covering some of the economic data that we're going to be seeing this week. Today, we didn't really see anything too important being released. Tomorrow, what we do have is the EIA short-term energy outlook. That's only really important if you're trading energy. So not something that I'm personally paying attention to, but something to keep in mind. That's the next big thing. The two big days to pay attention to this week is going to be Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, we have core CPI and obviously just the CPI. Those two are going to be the two big ones to pay attention to. We also have crude oil inventories being released on Wednesday, and that's pretty much it for Wednesday to remember. On Thursday, we have the initial jobless claims. We have continuing jobless claims. We have core PPI being released and just regular PPI being released. Those are the big ones for Thursday. And then Friday, we don't have anything too important to really pay attention to. So the two big days that you guys want to pay attention to is going to be Wednesday for CPI and Thursday for PPI and jobless claims, initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims. So that's just a quick rundown on some of the economic events and the important things to pay attention to. CPI this week, interest rate hike on 26th. And that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the charts and see what we're looking at in terms of this week and the upcoming weeks, potentially leading up to the federal interest rate hike. So we're going to be looking at QQQ. Let me go ahead and grab my drawing tool. We'll do some technical analysis, give you guys some levels to pay attention to and keep in mind. And kind of my perspective on where we're at and where we're expected to go. So we're looking at QQQ, which is the NASDAQ. This trades very similar to SPY. So if you guys trade SPY, it's really going to be very, very similar in terms of analysis. But we're going to cover QQQ for today, which is the NASDAQ. We're looking at the daily chart. If you guys are paying attention to the time frame, we're going to go from daily to 4-hour to smaller time frames and give you guys a quick rundown on all of the time frames. That way you guys kind of have an idea of where I'm coming from and what I'm looking at and why I'm looking at those things the way I am. So the first thing we're looking at is the daily chart. And one thing I want you guys to know is we have broken below last week, below this trend line that we were trading at. And we have been slowly trickling back up to this 370 to 372 zone, which has been a resistance. We did pull back last week. But one thing I want you guys to know is we actually found support here today on the EMA, which is this blue line. And so that is giving us an indication that we still have potentially some upside to go. And so if the CPI data comes in lower than expected or as expected, which is going to be lower than previous, that means that we're actually doing a little bit better. We have been seeing some mixed reports coming in from the economic data side. And so that's kind of why we have been seeing this pullback that we saw. But I do anticipate that we're going to find support here at the exponential moving average, see a bounce and come right back up to this 370 to 372 zone, which was previously a resistance zone that we saw. Let me go ahead and re-grab that drawing tool and show you guys. So this was a previous resistance zone that we saw. And so this is why I'm expecting this to be a short-term resistance level for us to take profit at if we are trading to the upside, meaning we're trading TQQQ. If you guys have been watching this channel, you guys know that when the market's going up, we're trading TQQQ. When the market's going down, we're trading SQQQ. And so that's kind of how we navigate through the turmoil that we've been seeing lately. And so that's just from the price action side of things. I want you guys to note this exponential moving average. We did find support here today. And as far as the strength index goes, the relative strength index, we are still around this 60 zone. And I do anticipate that we're going to push right back up to here when we get to this zone right here, become overbought. And that is when we're going to start facing, later on, we're going to start facing the FOMC meeting. And we're going to start looking at interest rate hikes, and that's really going to start having a different effect. In the short term, we're paying attention to the CPI numbers that are going to be coming out, what we're expecting with that, and how we're expecting the markets to react. So again, if the market comes in, or if the CPI data comes in better than expected or as expected, meaning that it comes in lower than previous, it means that inflation is kind of slowing down. And so that's going to cause the market to react positively to that news, right? And so in turn, that's going to result in us running up to 370 to 372. And so that's why this is a long target for us. As long as we remain above this exponential moving average on the daily chart, I am expecting to be going long on QQQ, meaning buying TQQQ to get that position in place. As far as the MACD goes, we haven't seen a turnaround yet. But if that does pan out, we will probably see this turnaround. And the reason I'm still staying positive, even though we haven't seen a turnaround on the MACD, and is that if you look at the 4-hour chart, let's go ahead and clear this out. If you look at the 4-hour chart, which is a little more, it's a little more current, I guess you can say. It's reacting to every 4 hours versus every day. We're actually starting to see a reversal right over here. And so that is, again, another reason that we were going bullish today. And we're anticipating to see a little bit more upside leading up to Wednesday. So tomorrow, we're probably expecting more of a bullish movement in TQQQ. And so that's why we are sticking to that theory. MACD is starting to turn around. We are converging to the upside, anticipating tomorrow for us to pop into the green. MAC or RSI, we're anticipating as soon as we do pop up into the green, we'll probably run up to this 70 zone, this overbought level, which is going to get us to this 370, 372 zone. And so at that point, that's going to be our take profit zone. And the reason for that, again, is because we saw this be a previous resistance right about 2 weeks ago, I would say. So make sure to keep that in mind in terms of the 4-hour chart. And then jumping into a 1-hour chart, let's go ahead and do that. See where we're at with that. 5 days, 1-hour chart. Again, we are not extremely overbought, so we do still have more upside. If we're looking at yesterday, or not yesterday, but Friday's price action, where we were at, we were right around this 370 zone. And so that's where we got rejected on Friday. And so I do anticipate that tomorrow on Tuesday, we're going to jump up into here. And if you're looking at the volume profile levels, this is actually a very strong zone, right? So we do want to jump into this area. That's, again, what we're expecting to see just because of the daily chart and the 4-hour chart. And now on the 1-hour chart, we're seeing the exact same thing. We still have more upside right over here on the RSI. MACD, we haven't seen a start of convergence to the downside just yet. We are still trending way to the upside, right? And so if we're looking at where we're going to be, 370, 372, again, the same price target that we've seen before. Again, it's going to be a take profit zone. If we do see a continuation, we can always jump back in. But as of right now, that 370 to 372 zone is going to be where we're going to be aiming to take profit at. If we're looking at today, it was a little bit choppy. Again, we didn't have too much important data being released today. So we're kind of going off of, last week's data, which was a little bit mixed. But again, we're just looking at what we saw today. We were pretty much flat. We did jump into TQQQ in the morning. And so we pretty much got a little bit of a percentage of gain. We're really expecting the move to pan out into tomorrow. We were up about 0.35% on QQQ. If we jump into TQQQ, we're actually looking at TQQQ. We're looking at a little bit more in terms of percentage gain. So when we jumped in, we're looking at about 0.81%. So nothing quite significant. But again, we're looking at this play to come up to that 370, 372 zone. And so that's going to be tomorrow and potentially Wednesday when we get that report come out. And if it does come in as expected, lower than what was previous, we're probably going to see a bit of a spike in the market in QQQ at the very least. And so that is what we're kind of expecting and we're preparing for. Again, we are managing our risks, so keep that in mind. But that is just a quick market update for you guys, where we're at, the important events that you guys should be paying attention to, what we're expecting to see, and where we're expecting price action to go. And that's pretty much it for this week. So if you guys do have any questions or you guys enjoy this content, make sure to smash that like button, comment down below what you guys are expecting, or if you guys have questions, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We do these videos every single Monday and Friday night, and I'll see you guys on Friday.